Hey guys, Dr. Childs here. Today we're going to be talking about protein powder for thyroid patients. We're going to be talking about why I think thyroid patients should be using protein powder, the benefits of using protein powder if you have the thyroid problems, what type of thyroid protein powder you should be using, and a lot of other information just all related to all things about protein powder if you have any sort of thyroid disease. So if you don't know me, I'm Dr. Childs. I'm an internist and I specialize in helping people with thyroid problems, helping people with hormone imbalances, and of course, helping people lose weight. But today we're going to be talking about thyroid-friendly protein powder. But really, what we're going to be talking about, I guess you could sum it up as, this would be reasons you might want to use protein powder if you have thyroid problems. So let's talk first about the benefits. We'll talk about the benefits of using a protein powder, and then we'll talk about how to pick the right kind of protein powder if you're a thyroid patient, because there are lots of options available to you and they are not all created equal. And you want to make sure you're using the right one because you want to get the benefits, right? The benefits we're going to be talking about. So benefit number one is that taking or consuming extra protein in your diet can improve lean muscle mass or the building up of muscle mass in your body. And as a thyroid patient, this really matters because it connects down here to weight loss. So I'll kind of lump these together in a way, but really the more muscle mass you have, the more energy and calories you burn just sitting still and doing your day-to-day activities. Now the problem is a lot of people, especially when they have a thyroid problem, they gain a little bit of weight, right? And that tends to almost always coincide with a reduction or a decrease in lean muscle mass. So you want this lean muscle mass to be at whatever it is supposed to be for your body. But if you have extra weight, it almost always reduces that lean muscle mass. So you're losing a lot of potential just by being a little overweight. And since more thyroid patients are overweight than the general population, we have a lot of people who have a reduction in lean muscle mass. And it matters quite a bit, okay? It matters a lot, especially when we're interested in weight loss, but we'll get there in a second. So benefit number one in consuming a thyroid or a protein powder is that can enhance or help to build up that lean muscle mass. Number two is that it has an effect, in fact, a quite profound effect on your appetite, right? And that also matters quite a bit because if you consume protein, it actually suppresses your appetite more so than eating carbohydrates would. This is why this is pretty, a classic example of if you have a big old drink of, I don't know, some soda or anything like that. It could even be diet. But it doesn't make a lot of sense if it's diet because there's no carbs in it. But let's say a full carb soda of some sort, like a Pepsi or something. You could consume that and still feel hungry afterwards. It's because the carbs do not have the suppressive effect on your appetite equal to that of proteins or even fats as well. So consuming protein can reduce your appetite or at the very least control it. So that's benefit number two. This is why, by the way, I often recommend consuming a protein powder first thing in the morning, usually with the morning smoothie. I think that works really, really well for thyroid patients, and I have a lot of great success and results in recommending that to thyroid patients. Number three is that it does have an effect on weight loss. So just consuming protein by itself isn't necessarily going to help you with weight loss, but it puts your body in a position by helping to improve lean muscle mass, by reducing appetite or by managing your appetite and reducing food cravings to sustain weight loss. So it sort of helps with whatever efforts you're already doing. So if you're working out, guess what? Working out in conjunction with protein consumption will help improve the amount of muscle that you can produce or the lean muscle mass production. It would also manage your appetite, so you're less likely to cheat on your healthy diet or whatever it is. So it can assist with weight loss. I wouldn't think of this as a direct cause and effect wherein if you consume protein powder you're going to lose weight, but it sets the stage and it helps everything just move right along. So that's another big benefit for a lot of people. Then number four, I'm saying here, it's really easy. Okay, so ease/taste/meal replacement. So the problem here is that if you have, let's say breakfast, like remember just a minute ago I recommended that a lot of thyroid patients consume protein powder, usually with a smoothie in the morning. The reason for that is simple. If you know what you're going to have each and every morning, it's much less likely that you're going to make a mistake or make a bad decision in regards to your diet. So if you just wake up and have the same thing every day, you can change it, by the way, with the ingredients you put into the smoothie. But if you know you're always having that with your protein powder, you're basically setting your day up for success. So I love that. The ease, never underestimate the power of ease. The taste is always really good, especially nowadays protein powders taste really good, or at least most of them do. And then it can be used as a meal replacement provided you put it in that smoothie. So these are really the benefits of the reasons you should consider using a protein powder. Now, how to pick the right one, that's a completely different story. So let's talk about that just for a second. So we have some things here that we're going to be talking about. The first thing that you should know as a thyroid patient, no matter what type of protein powder you're going to get, it must be dairy-free, soy-free, and gluten-free. Okay, so let me repeat that. Dairy-free, soy-free, and gluten-free. Now, almost all protein powders are going to come gluten-free anyway. They shouldn't have gluten in them, but just so you know, just make sure that yours doesn't. But these can be a problem, dairy and soy. So remember, dairy dairy comes with whey. So if you have a protein powder which contains whey, it's going to have dairy products in it. And that can be a big problem for a lot of thyroid patients, especially those people with Hashimoto's. As we know, and as if you heard me say before, there have been studies which show that Hashimoto's patients who consume dairy have worse thyroid lab tests than those who do not. It can also impact your antibody levels, inflammatory levels, and so on. So you really do not want to be consuming dairy. And if you're consuming a protein powder, there's a really high chance that you're consuming whey, whether you realize it or not. So whey is not a good option for these reasons. And then the last thing is soy. Now, there are some soy-based protein powders, but a lot of the times you'll find soy just as an added ingredient. So again, I don't care what type of thyroid problem you have, Hashimoto's, regular hypothyroidism, thyroidectomy, whatever it is, whatever type of thyroid problem you have, dairy, soy, and gluten should be out of the equation every time, 100%. Okay, so just make sure it does not have dairy, gluten, or soy. The next thing you want to look for is an array of amino acids. So that might sound confusing. Don't let it be. Amino acids are just the different names of the proteins that exist within the protein powder. Okay, so there's usually a blend of these things. So just make sure when you consume a protein powder, it has a good array, a good blend of these various amino acids. And you can almost always, or at least you should see, on the back, it'll show you the amino acid breakdown. So you can look at this and it'll, say glutamate or aspartic acid or whatever, and it'll say, X amount of milligrams or something like that. You'll see it kind of look like this, and it'll be broken out for you. So make sure you pay attention to that. You don't need to know the exact ingredients and nutrients of each one, but you should know that you should look for one that has an array of all of these. The next thing you want to do is make sure, in my opinion, for thyroid patients, you want to look for additional vitamins and nutrients. And the reason for this is simple. Thyroid patients tend to have a lot of nutrient deficiencies. They tend to have zinc deficiency, selenium deficiency, B12 deficiency, other B vitamin deficiencies, and so on. This just comes at baseline because of the impact that low thyroid function has on the gut, and that impacts absorption and so on. So if you can get extra, we're down here. If you can get extra vitamins and nutrients inside of the protein powder, that's even better, because if you're consuming it in the morning, you're consuming it with a smoothie, you're consuming it with other nutrients, you're just really getting a lot of stuff all at once, and it'll make sure that you're getting everything that your body needs all in one go. Well, not necessarily all in one go, but you're getting as much as you can in one go. So look for additional vitamins and nutrients. The next thing is, and I highly recommend this, look for a plant-based protein powder. You'll see arguments for animal protein powder, which would be like whey. And then they also have bovine sources of protein powder nowadays, so you can look for those as well. Those actually tend to not be too bad for thyroid patients. I still think plant-based is a little bit better. It's more rapidly absorbed. It gets into your system quicker. It's easier to digest, so your body doesn't have a problem breaking it down. And the amino acid array is a little bit different than it would be found in whey or these other animal sources. So I do recommend plant-based sources of protein powder for thyroid patients for all those reasons. You really do want to make sure that you're getting it into your system as fast as you possibly can, and this is one way to do it, because if it gets into your system quickly, then it has more of an impact on your appetite. It helps with the lean muscle mass and of course weight loss. So that's really what a lot of people are looking for. Next thing is, in terms of how much protein you should be looking for, I recommend usually 10 to 20 grams of protein per serving. You really don't need to go crazy. There's an argument to be made if you are doing heavy lifting and things like that, you can consume more protein. But for the average person who's just trying to get the nutrients, improve their thyroid, and so on, really 10 to 20 grams of protein per serving should be sufficient, provided it's plant-based. And then lastly, it's really important, make sure you do not consume any protein powders which have inactive fillers, dyes, GMO products, binders, etc. So look for just the bad product or the bad extra ingredients that can be found in a lot of these protein powders. And remember, it's a powder, so there are a lot of added things. So generally, the cheaper the product you get, the more likely you are to get these, because they can process them quicker. That's just kind of how it works. And I know that because I produce a lot of different supplements, and so I understand the manufacturing behind producing supplements and the cost and so on. So there really is a reason to pay a little bit better, because you're eliminating all these things. And remember, I told you wanted to eliminate dairy, soy, and gluten for the same reason. They can impact you. They do have a real effect. Now, I do have protein powders specifically for thyroid patients. Of course, they fit all these needs because I created it specifically for thyroid patients. You don't necessarily have to use those, but it's all done for you. But just make sure, if you have a protein powder, look on the back, compare what I showed you here. Look for all of these different things to make sure you're consuming what you need. Because if you want these benefits, you have to be getting the right stuff, right? You have to be using the right type of protein powder. And if you don't, then, well, obviously you're not going to get this stuff. And that's really what people want when they consume it. So if you have any questions about protein powder or other types of things that I didn't go over here, leave them in the comments below. Also, if you haven't already, make sure that you download my free thyroid PDF resources. I have tons of free information designed exactly for thyroid patients that should help. And so if you like this sort of information, you'll like that. And that's all I have for you guys today. So otherwise, I will see you guys in the next one.